Thank you so much for logging on to StateChamps.tv. Perhaps you're watching this on Facebook. This is another edition of the OT with Markowski. Still beautiful weather here.
Gorgeous
in the fall,
today.
So we are definitely appreciative of that.
Keeping away from the rain.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this is one of those topics as we begin here that you know it's coming. That day is coming, and that day is when some of these high school coaching legends here in Michigan finally take a step aside and let somebody else call the shots. And right now, you want to talk about a couple that are maybe right around the corner. You don't know that, but give us your insight as far as Brother Rice's Al Fracassa and Utica Eisenhower's Bob Lantzy.
Well, you always speculate on when Al's going to retire. There was rumors last year after they lost that tough game to Farmington Hills Harrison in that first round. Brother Rice is having another good year. It all depends on how Al feels. I know he feels like he's a little under pressure now trying to get that 400th victory, and we all hope that he gets it this weekend. It'd be great for him to do it in Ohio because they go to Ohio every year. But you have to think
in the playoffs.
Right, they need that victory to get in the playoffs. If they don't win that one, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
But you also have to think about what's going to happen after when Al retires. Who's going to carry on his great legacy there? And I kind of think that's going to be Dave Sofrin, who's been under Al for a while, played for Al at Brother Rice, offensive coordinator, a good mind. Kids really respect him. I think everybody in the community at Brother Rice respects him. So I look for Dave Sofran to really take over that program. And it's kind of a tough spot, too. You think about replacing a legend like Al Fracassa and how much pressure there will be on that one person who is named head coach. And we all know that head coach is only as good as their assistants. And you can see that anytime there's a good program, that head coach might run things as an oversee, but it's really the D coordinator, the offensive coordinator, who handles the special teams, who handles the offensive and defensive lines that are so important to the program.
And you've got, just for kicks and giggles, there's a couple of, I guess you could say, celebrated names that are out there, too, that have Rice connections. Scott Merchant
comes to mind.
Of course, it's Don McClain.
Don McClain, who is at Country Day. Yeah. And I think, those names are going to pop up. I'm sure when Al finally decides to, hang it up, so to speak, that those names will pop up into their, the repertoire or the list of candidates. But you wonder, I talked to Scott over the years and, him being settled at Clinton Township, Chippewa Valley, he'd have to make that move. Sure, in the back of his mind, he might want to coach Brother Rice, but, that we'll see what, that comes. Sofrin's been a part of that program so long, I'm thinking that he might be the most viable candidate.
Do you think that they would entertain at any time going outside of the program, somebody with no connections to Brother Rice?
Yeah, boy, that would be a stretch, I think. I think they wanted to keep the continuity. You think about the younger kids coming up. Let's say Al does retire after this year. You think about the freshman program now, the kids that are there, the junior varsity, and all of them being so familiar with the coaches that are there now. I think they'd want to keep that continuity.
All right, well, what about over at Utica?
Well, I think they're great. Candidate would be Chris Smith, the defensive coordinator at Utica Eisenhower, a Michigan State grad, played on the line for the Spartans. And you look at Eisenhower's defense, early on, if we go back 10, 12 years, Eisenhower's offense is what really caught everybody's attention.
That's right.
But recently, it's really been Eisenhower's defense that's really been the forte of that program. And Smith is really a cornerstone, a real stabling force in that program. And I think Bob Lantzy would probably like nothing better when he decides to retire, which could be at the end of this year, to see Chris take over. And I think Chris would make a great coach.
I'm just going to go out on a limb, and I don't think that Bob is ready to retire.
It
because
depends.
I think now he's seeing. There were a couple of years where I think they were. I don't want to say middle of the pack, but not the dominant program. It looks like really they've turned that kind of turned it around a little bit, and they're making noise this year. And who knows? I think that they're building a foundation. Maybe not this year is all I'm saying, but he is at number 300. That's where he's at.
He's coming up to 300 this weekend against Chippewa Valley. That's a good point because you look at the beginning of the season, I look at some of the stronger junior classes, and you got to look at Brother Rice and Eisenhower, both strong junior classes. Is that enough to keep Al Fracassa at Rice and Bob Lansing at Eisenhower? I think a lot has to tell during the state playoffs.
Is Bob a teacher at Eisenhower?
No, he's out of it. He's just a coach like Al. Al resigned as a teacher a long time ago, and quite a few years ago anyway. Right. So I think, football is so much a part of both of those men's life, and it's going to be tough when they finally say, I've had enough.
Yeah.